How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder. To recap the series between the Yankees and the Astros, as the Yankees have taken 2 out of 3 in Houston to begin the gauntlet and get it off to a good start. They got it off to a good start. Now, they did lose a terrible game in the middle game because they just completely melted down in the, I think it was the 8th inning of the middle game when they were winning. They were up 3-0. And then they just let the Astros get back in the game. I mean, the bullpen just did not do its job. Yeah, the Astros put up a 4 spot in the bottom of the 8th inning. They didn't get some help from just poor umpiring. But I don't want to make that excuse because, the Yankees, look, it is justified, but they do have a habit of making excuses, and especially against the Astros. Because if you remember from a couple years ago, more than a couple years ago, the ALCS against the Astros when Severino was pitching, and Bregman hit the home run over the Crawford box, and the roof was open, and then Judge hit one later in the game. Well, he didn't hit a home run, but the ball, didn't go over, and it got knocked down and ended up being an out. They were making excuses about that, like, oh, the wind carried Bregman's ball out, but it knocked down Judge's. I mean, stop making excuses, all right? But we'll get to the middle game. So the first game, Yankees won that on Tuesday, 7-1. Okay, and we got a very good pitching performance out of Max Fried. Max Fried and Carlos Rodón, and even Will Warren, the rotation did its job in this series. All right, it's just the bullpen had a bit of issues getting outs. But yeah, Max Fried was dominant. Off-speed pitches were working. Worked a few batters, but he pitched into the 7th inning. He gave the Yankees 7 strong innings, and then Paul Blackburn pitched the final 2 innings, and he had 4 strikeouts. And the Yankees got some big double plays in this game as well. Like the Astros are just bunting. They were just giving away at bats. I mean, there was a chance for the Astros to maybe create some damage and get back in the game, but they just, poor situational baseball. Fried's thrown to the right base. I think at one point he threw to third base to get an out, and then, he caught the ball on a fly, and he doubled off the Astros. They ended up getting a double play. The Yankees. I think that was in the 7th inning. You had a 2-run homer from Jazz Chisholm off of Framber Valdez, and then Trent Grisham once again. I mean, this guy is just unbelievable, and we'll talk about him again in the third game. He hits his 3rd grand slam of the year. He puts the Yankees up 6-0, and there was some miscommunication between Framber Valdez and the catcher. They didn't want. There was some miscommunication on what pitch they wanted to throw, Salazar, and Framber Valdez just ended up throwing the pitch that he wanted, and Grisham ended up just hitting it out. I think they were trying to call. I don't know if they were trying to call time. Either way, but it was just miscommunication. Grisham ends up hitting a home run over the Crawford box for a grand slam, and then Valdez just ends up hitting Salazar in the chest. He crossed him up, hit him in the chest because it seemed like he was angry. That was I think that was with Volpe up. Yeah, that was with Volpe up. So, I mean, I don't know what you're doing there, but that wasn't a good look. And then the Yankees tacked on another run later. Actually, yeah, it was another Jazz homer. And what I love is that Jazz hit these 2 home runs off of 2 lefties because I feel like he struggles against left-handed pitchers. So, it's great. Jazz now on the season has 28 homers. I mean, he's been awesome. The Yankees got to keep him around. 28 homers, 70 RBIs, and this is with him missing all that time with the oblique. I mean, imagine if he played the whole year, what kind of season he would have had. So then we go to the game on Wednesday, and the umpires were rough. Again, the umpires were rough. Yankees were getting the short end of the stick with some of the strike calls, but again, you got to be able to get outs. Yankees did go up 3-0. Stanton hit a home run that hit the train tracks. He hit it way over the Crawford box, hitting the train tracks. His 18th homer of the season. Austin Wells had a home run, a 2-run homer later in the game in the 4th inning, his 20th of the season. He actually had 3 hits in this game. So if Austin Wells get it going, that's an encouraging sign for the Yankees to get him going. But then the Astros, they started to chip away at that lead. Will Warren got charged with 2 earned runs. There was the Astros, they got the first run of the game. It was in the bottom of the 5th inning. Ramon Arias hit a sac fly. McMahon actually hit a sac fly in the top of the 6th to make it 4-1. But Jeremy Pena homered. Altuve had a ground out that led to a run. So it was 4-3 going into the bottom of the seventh inning, and it's just that. Well, actually, no, the bottom of the eighth inning is really when everything fell apart. But the Astros were able to get the game tying run, and yeah, so it was 4-4 going into the eighth inning, and it's just everything fell apart in that inning. Everything fell apart. Luke Weaver was the man that I believe. Actually, no. Yeah, Luke Weaver's the one that surrendered the game-tying hit to Yordan Alvarez, who killed the Yankees in this series. So, I mean, when he's healthy, I mean, he's a real threat in the batter's box. So, Yankees got to be careful with that if they see the Astros again down the line. But Devin Williams comes in a big spot, and what happens? Gives up a leave-it-off double to Carlos Correa, walk to Jesus Sanchez. He does get Yanner Diaz to strike out. Then he walks Christian Walker, strikes out Ramon Arias. Like, at that point, you got Taylor Trammell up, okay, and you have a rested bullpen, right? Why don't you go to one of your lefties in that spot? Why don't you go to Tim Hill in that spot? He's so good against lefties. He's shaky against righties. He's so good against lefties. Why don't you put him in? Because they just believe in Devin Williams, and I've said it. They believe too much in their players, which is a blessing at times, and it is also a curse. Because when you have Carlos Rodón and Max Fried saying, I could get this out, and they go and do it, it's a blessing that Boone trusts his players. But it's a curse because then you trust guys that don't get the job done. And Devin Williams didn't get the job done. So he ends up walking Taylor Trammell. So Astros take a 5-4 lead. And then Devin Williams and Aaron Boone both end up getting ejected because the strike calls they didn't agree with. But you still got to, look, it doesn't matter. You walked 3 guys. You gave up a leadoff double to Carlos Correa. Like, you got to get outs, man. You got to get outs. And he didn't do it. So now they bring in Camilo Duvall, who just has not been pitching well for them. And he comes in. Jeremy Pena singles. Then there's a balk, which I think was a bit of a questionable call. So that happens. Then there's a wild pitch that leads to Trammell scoring. So it's 8-4. And then, the Yankees, to give them credit, they didn't go down quietly. McMahon singles, Judge singles, and then Bellinger hits a 3-run homer. And it's 8-7. And then Jazz Chisholm gets called out on strikes on a pitch that was outside. So the Yankees let that game slip away. But they did respond. They end up winning last night. Carlos Rodón pitched very well. Leads the American League in wins. 16 now. Went 6 strong innings. One earned run. 3 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. He gave the Yankees what they needed. Judge got walked 3 times. But once again, everybody, Trent Grisham, another big hit from this guy. Actually, Ryan McMahon had a big game, too, before we get to Grisham again. Ryan McMahon had 3 hits last night. He's starting to come around with the bat, which I think is very encouraging because he's playing a very good third base. There was another questionable call last night. He catches the ball at third, and then he bobbles it on the transfer, and they say he didn't catch it. And they reviewed it, and it was still incorrect. I don't get it. The Yankee fans are all over the umpire. And they when they looked at his social media and he was wearing a Red Sox shirt, and that he has it out for the Yankees. No, it's just he was not good at his job this series. He wasn't behind the plate and being the third base umpire because McMahon caught the ball. But Ryan McMahon, he hit a home run last night, 3 hits. If the Yankees can get him to swing the bat at least a little bit and play really good third base, it's a good pickup. It's a really good pickup for them. But yeah, he's been very good at third base. But yeah, the Yankees got things started off with McMahon, the RBI single. Then Yordan Alvarez hit his 5th homer of the season off of Rodón to tie the game. McMahon homered in the top of the 5th inning. Bellinger, an RBI single. Caballero, a walk. I actually forgot to mention that Caballero got ejected in the first game. He ended up swinging. He got hit by the pitch, but he ended up swinging. So it ended up being a strike. And then I guess he said something that the umpire didn't like, and he got tossed immediately. So, kind of hamstrung the Yankees a little bit when they were reshuffling the defensive alignment. Because also they had Stanton playing left field in this series. So, yeah, I mean, Caballero, and Judge is not ready to play the outfield, although he will be in the lineup tonight playing right field, so that's good. He's back playing the outfield. That's what we like to hear. But, yeah, that's the second time. And Boone talked about it at the end of the game, that the one in Tampa was more egregious than what happened there. I mean, he wasn't really, flipping out. But he was sternly talking to the umpire, but it wasn't like how it was in Tampa where they had to hold him back. So I forgot to mention that. So yeah, Caballero ends up walking, ends up being 4-1 Yankees at that point. The Astros end up getting another run in the bottom of the sixth inning to make it 4-2, and then Jesus Sanchez homers in the bottom of the seventh inning to make it 4-3. So at that point, you're like, the Yankees gonna blow this game again, and Alvarez led off the bottom of the sixth inning with a double. But yeah, so it was 4-3 in the bottom of the seventh. They put in Luke Weaver. He gives up a home run. Astros kind of were getting too Luke Weaver. Yeah, so they had to put in Fernando Cruz. And Fernando Cruz was able to strike out Altuve, who did not have a hit in the series. He went 0 for 11, I believe. So that was good. Love the energy that Fernando Cruz brings. I know he gets himself into trouble himself, but I love the energy. I love how pumped up he gets. It reminded me, when he struck out Altuve, it reminded me of Jabba Chamberlain, how Jabba got hyped after a strikeout. That's what the Yankees need. They need guys that are like that. They need to bring more of that kind of energy. I'm not saying everybody has to be like that, but just the Yankees need a few guys like that. So that was a big out. Bases loaded, 2 outs. He gets Altuve to strike out. That was huge. Ryan McMahon it was kind of an infield hit. It went off of Pena's glove. That ended up scoring a run because Dominguez pinch ran for Stanton because Stanton walked to lead off the inning. This is the top of the 8th inning. So that's what Dominguez has become now. It's a pinch runner. But yeah, that was a big hit by McMahon, a huge insurance run. And then the big blow, once again, the big sleep, Trent Grisham, 30th homer of the season, 3-run homer to make it 8-3 Yankees. I mean, he is making the decision on whether or not to bring him back harder and harder for the Yankees because, I mean, it's like I don't know what to do. I don't know what you do if you're the Yankees because I want them to bring back Bellinger, but like Grisham is having this great year. He plays a great center field, lefty bat. I mean, the Yankees. It's going to be a tough thing to do, but because he's having such a great year. But I don't want the Yankees to get snake bit like they did with DJ LeMahieu when they signed him to a big contract after his great years with the Yankees, and then he never gave them the same level of production. So, we'll see what happens there. But Yankees got through the 8th inning clean. Correa singled, but they were able to get the next 3 outs. Yankees didn't do anything in the top of the 9th inning. So Fernando Cruz pitched, scoreless 8th inning. And then David Bednar comes in, not a save situation, and he really got himself into trouble. Carantini singled. Taylor Trammell doubled. Now, what's interesting is they confiscated his bat because there was like a certain spot on it, and it was getting checked out, so it got confiscated. And I guess I don't know if it was illegal or not. But either way, that was a double. So second and third, nobody out. Jeremy Pena lines out to Anthony Volpe, but then Alvarez singles. That scores a run. Then Bednar walks Jose Altuve with the bases loaded. Correa comes up. I'm thinking, oh no, don't tell me he's going to have another big moment against the Yankees, a grand slam. Because Correa's had some big moments in the playoffs against the Yankees. But Bednar, to his credit, strikes out Carlos Correa, and then he strikes out Christian Walker to end the game, and the Yankees win, and they win 2 out of 3. So all things considered, everybody, I mean, realistically, did we think the Yankees were going to sweep the Astros? No. Did I think the Yankees were going to win the series in Houston? No. But they did win the series. They won 2 out of 3. They're 2-1 to start off this stretch, as everyone is calling it, the gauntlet, which that's what it is. You play the Blue Jays next, you play the Tigers next week, and then you play the Red Sox in Fenway to finish it up. Yankees got a 6-game homestand coming up now with the Blue Jays and the Tigers. I will be at the game next Tuesday. Gleyber Torres, his return to Detroit. I hope he gets a return to Yankee Stadium. I hope he gets a nice. He'll get a nice hand. He's gonna get some kind of tribute video or something. So, yeah, all things considered, look, the greedy side of you says you would have liked to sweep because the Yankees could have swept, but hey, you'll take 2 out of 3 and you move on. Yankees got big series coming up with the Blue Jays because, if they could win 2 out of 3, you pick up ground on them. I mean, a sweep would be phenomenal, but I just don't think that's going to happen. Tonight we got Kevin Gausman against Cam Schlittler. Max Fried against Luis Gil is tomorrow, and then you got Chris Bassett against Max Fried on Sunday, sorry. And Max Fried's been pitching really well, so that's good. That's encouraging. So, yeah, really looking forward to this series to see what happens there. But there's a lot to like, but the Yankees still kind of kicked the ball around. I think they had 3 errors yesterday. I mean, that was including the McMahon bobble, which technically they should have had 2, but still, like, despite that, they still were able to win the game. But they got to play clean baseball. And I know there's this notion out there that the Yankees are the best team in the American League. And I do agree if they play clean baseball, if you get production out of, your top guys, and Max Fried turns back into Max Fried, and Carlos Rodon is how he was in the beginning of the year, and you stabilize the back end of the bullpen, which the Yankees have done. But if you go to guys like Devin Williams, who can't pitch in big situations, when you got guys that are constantly kicking the ball around and making errors, like Anthony Volpe making errors, and Ben Rice doesn't field the ball cleanly over at first base, or if Dominguez misplays the ball in the outfield, like if you got things like that happening, and then if you have Aaron Boone, again with Devin Williams, but also just not, making the right decisions with the bullpen, I mean, it's not going to matter. But if they play right, if they play clean baseball, if your top guys in the rotation are pitching like how they should, and this lineup hits, I mean, it's tough to argue with it. But you know what? When you have these losing records against your divisional opponents, it's hard for me to say that. So I'm not going to sit here and say that that's the case. They have to continue to prove it. Now go and win a series against the Blue Jays, win a series against the Tigers, and then go into Fenway and really bring it to them, because they've been doing it to you this whole year. And then I will say, now you really have a case. But when you lose a game like you did the other night, it's because they beat themselves. They beat themselves. So that's kind of where I'm at. But this is a big series coming up with the Blue Jays. Let's see what they do. But let me know what you guys think about the series against the Astros. What were your thoughts? So the Yankees have done well in Houston the last few years now. I mean, if it wasn't for the meltdown in the 8th inning, they would have swept them, and that would have been what? That would have been 10 straight games that they've won in Houston. That's crazy. But you got to do it in the playoffs. I mean, if they do this in the playoffs, then it really would mean something. But that's just another thing that I have to say there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the Astros series. How do you guys feel going into the Blue Jays series? Let me know in the comments. As always, everybody, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciated. And the videos, of course. And make sure to follow us on the social media platforms in the description below. And wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to us as well. Look up Infinite Sports. You'll find us there as well. And as always, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.